per my instructions. So the meeting is recorded. My name is Tom Kearns, Chair and Select Board appointee, and I'd like to invite my CPC colleagues to introduce themselves and their appointments. And as always, I'll use the roll call roster on the website and our town website to expedite the process. And so, Peter.
Peter Ward, Vice Chair, Select Board appointee.
Thank you. Judy.
Judy Zonbrecker, Natural Resources Commission appointee.
Paul.
Paul Grasso, Recreation Commission.
Burton, I don't think is with us. Burton? No. Nancy.
Muted.
Nancy, no, with us?
Nancy, you're muted.
Yeah, Nancy, unmute, please.
Coming, sorry. Nancy Nelson, Historical Commission appointee.
Thank you, Nancy. Hester.
Hester Schnipper, Concord Housing Authority Board appointee.
Thank you. Diane.
Diane Proctor, Select Board appointee.
And John.
John Kratzley, Select Board appointee.
Thank you, everybody. Nice job, and thanks for all the good work this fall. Diane.
Yeah, I'd like to make a public statement, Tom. Last week, in trying to understand the influences on all of us as we make these choices, I suggested that a comment had been made in the Select Board because that was what was in my notes. It ends up my notes were a conflation of the Select Board and other meetings that I have attended. And at the Select Board, there was no hesitation about the the Wheeler House. And I was wrong, and I have apologized to many folks, and I mean it sincerely. And I'm sorry for any consternation that it may have created.
Diane, thank you so much. The notes will reflect your statement. And if I may move to that point of administration, Paul has agreed to take minutes this evening. So Paul, thank you so much for taking on that job.
You're welcome.
Yeah, kind of a big task. And I think that what we'll do is maybe after you've completed your notes, you and I can talk offline, and then you could submit them directly to Heather Carey, who is doing some of the administration for Heather Gill, and then she can get those distributed and posted. Sound right?
Okay.
Okay, so as always, if everyone can please mute their system while we are proceeding, and if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand virtually or give me a wave. And it's really important, remember to unmute if you're going to speak, and members of the public will keep their audio and their cameras off, and that'll make things go very, very smoothly. I have one additional announcement, and I'm going to make this very, very generally. So our amazing staff member, team member, Heather Gill, is on leave, and the information that's been shared with me is that she delivered a baby daughter on Sunday, and I believe her new daughter's name is Charlotte. So congratulations to her. I haven't heard from her directly, but the department said it was okay to share that good news. And think
Good news. Good
yeah, news. Isn't that? Yeah, that's really, really excellent news. Okay, as always. Let me just check. Okay, now I am doing a little bit of John.
Yeah, just if it's possible, we could send her a card or a greeting. Maybe the office would be willing to share her home address.
Oh yeah, nice. That's a really nice idea. So I follow up with Heather Carey, and she can help guide us in that regard.
That'd be great. I think we probably individually like to send something.
Yeah, so maybe she can, check if it's okay to share the address.
Right.
She can check on that, and if so, she can maybe share that with us, and we can act individually. That's a great idea, John. Thank you. So, of course, it was I don't know, late Thursday when she was headed I think to her appointment on Friday that she did craft yet another exciting agenda for us. So I'm going to see if I can screen share here. Okay, let's see how I'm doing. And now, are you able to see the meeting agenda?
Yes, we
Anybody?
can.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, that's so lucky. All right, good. So I have our agenda up here that Heather, of course, has crafted. And so I'm going to scroll down here so we can all see it, I hope. And so our agenda for this evening is to review current applications and new materials received, to look at the select board and town manager priority list or lists. The town council memorandum has not arrived yet, so there's no action there. And then discussion of potential recommendations, and then our voting process and meeting dates, which we talked a little bit about last time. Then we'll wrap it up with minutes. So last week we had a kind of a marathon. I think we were maybe in the 3-hour range for meetings. Everybody hung in there. It was kind of a long meeting, and I'm maybe tonight's going to be a little shorter than that. We'll go through each of the agenda topics, and I'll try to do what I'm normally doing, which is ask for the committee to respond, reflect, ask questions, points of clarification, and then we'll invite others to join us as well. Okay, so far so good. Let's see if we can get everybody on my screen. Okay, I think I'm good. All right, so with regard to current applications and new materials received, to my knowledge, there have been 3 new documents that have been received from applicants. And I'd like to try to put those on the screen one at a time, and so we can all be familiar with those. Hopefully people found those on the website in the other category under the kind of newest meeting materials. So first of all, in no particular order, I'll start with the Wright Tavern Futures Task Force. And they have an addressed a letter to the CPC, and hopefully people have had a chance to see this. I think that they've done a nice job to respond to the, let's say, the discussion and the guidance that we did our best to provide in our last meeting or last couple of meetings. And so this was an opportunity to look at the stabilization, let's say, aspects of their original proposal at some different bottom line, which you can see here. And they've also stated in this document, and I'm sorry to make anybody dizzy by kind of scrolling on this thing, that if there were some more time that available to them, that would be helpful as well. So I don't know if the applicants have joined us this evening, but we can find out if there's specific questions about this. But shall we just entertain this for a short discussion from questions or comments about this supplement from the applicant for Wright Tavern? And I guess I would remind us all that we cannot change their application. However, as we potentially make funding recommendations, this additional supplement can help guide us in terms of any kind of decision we might reach. Yeah, Judy.
Yeah, I found this very helpful, and I really appreciate the quick turnaround to address our least the question I had. To your last point, the only question I have is, say we propose to the town meeting the $260,000. Would this document be the document that would dictate on how they would spend that money?
So that may be a kind of multifaceted question for us to discuss, as well as if there's any any reflection from the applicant. I know they reached out before the meeting and asked if they should be present or not. I said that I thought the letter was well crafted. We'll discuss it, and they were, of course, welcomed to join us. So I guess my sense is that this is now a supplemental material to their application. There's two paths. One is that we, in fact, grant them, in our overall process, more time into January or February, something like that, and that they're able to put even more refinement to this supplement, let's say. And then they're saying, alternatively, if there's not more time available, that this would be the framework for the proposed work.
Okay.
So I think maybe there's how is this as a framework? And then at some point this evening, I think we need to talk about our goals. Where are we in our overall deliberations relative to next week, December 15th, or pushing again into January, where we had some of that discussion last week. Yes, Nancy.
I don't know if this is conflicting with what you just said, but I had some questions about the role of the architectural conservator and the historical architect that they've added to the team, and asked whether or not they had any input into this revised list. And just to say offhand, I'm very happy to see this pared down, but the reinforcement of the rafters and the floor joists at $100,000 still. The third floor attic is probably one of the most historic areas, and mostly that's going to be dismantled. So my concern remains there.
Yeah, Nancy, thank you. So I think that now, so we have a question from the committee to the applicant that we can pose to them and try to get that answer in terms of the role of the team members, right, the consultants. Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments from the committee? Peter?
Yeah, the only question I would have is the role of the consultant was not part of the original application. So is that something that we're able to include?
There was a line item. I thought there was.
I'm just referencing the letter where it mentions we've added a new item.
You're right.
So just maybe a point for clarification.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning the role. I think the role is the addition of the role is terrific.
Yeah, they're headed in a good direction here, right? So that sounds right. Diane?
We're not funding that consultant, I don't believe. So is it pertinent that a consultant has been added to the discourse, or is it just simply a point of order?
Yeah, I think that's right. That the historical preservation architect was in the original proposal. Diane, your point?
No, I was just saying, I don't think we're funding that person. There's consultant services from historical preservation architect. I mean, I think that we were always going to fund somebody. I mean, so
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't think that there's a particular reason. I mean, I'm just asking, is this protocol, or are we doing this as a form of protocol, or is this a point of order?
Yeah, I think there's some subtlety there. I'm going to have to, take that question and do a little research on it. Nancy?
I'm trying to find that. I remember a line item for the structural engineer, but I can't find I can't find either right now. So we can take that up later, maybe.
Yeah, I think that they've done some good work in turning things around in a couple of days.
Yeah.
I think they would benefit from a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other comments, questions from the public? Anyone? Okay, good. So thanks so
Hi,
much. Oh, yeah,
Tom,
please.
Tom.
Holly.
Yes, hi, Holly Kratzley here.
Hi,
I just
Holly.
wanted to clarify, we did have money in there for architectural consulting. And what we did is just the items that you see here were all in the original proposal, and architectural services were. We have just clarified that this would be somebody who is specifically trained in historic preservation.
I see.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, thanks, Holly. So more just a clarification, not a change.
Right,
That's
right.
very, very
It just,
helpful. Yeah.
yeah, just making sure that that's the emphasis with the architect and not just someone doing drawings for this.
Yeah, Holly, thanks so much. Yeah, we've, I don't know if you've been on the whole time here, but we've been appreciative of your group's quick turnaround here and responding to some of the themes that came up last week.
Good, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah,
for your consideration.
yeah, very helpful. Holly, can I ask you a question since we've got you on the line?
Yes.
I mean, it does reference some additional time. Do you want to, and you brought that up, I think last time, do you have any further reflection on that? If in fact we found that our overall work was taking us into mid-January or mid-January and beyond, would that be helpful in terms of, would you continue to refine this supplement?
Well, I think it was in response to questions about very specific things in the structure. And that, of course, takes time to work out the best way to do it. And we don't want to just bring in the architect and just do the attic. I mean, the whole point would be to do the whole project reviewed, given people's hesitation about traveling and meeting, et cetera. It's hard to move very quickly right now on working with consultants, especially when this is something that's not going to be done with video conferencing, but has to be done in the right Tavern, looking, and evaluating the best way to do it. So in the letter, the reference to more time is if you want more specificity than this in terms of what will actually happen, we would definitely need more time to do that.
Well, Holly, maybe I'm going to see if we can be efficient with our time here, but I think this actually may be efficient. Nancy, you asked a question. Holly, I don't know if you were on for that, but with regard to number 7 in the list and
right.
Just the concern.
So something has to happen in the attic. The attic is that is where you, from the outside, you can see the sag. That is where, now whether it, in reinforcing the attic rafters, it's not saying remove them, it's saying figuring out a way to reinforce what's there. And then the rafters, there is a square at the top of the building that is supported on posts that go down through the building. And so that's where the floor, reinforcing the floor joists under those point loads, that's where that comes in. Now, there are many ways, as you know, Tom, and I'm sure Nancy knows from her work, there are many ways to solve structural problems. And it's figuring out the most sensitive ways to do this. Exactly. But however it's done, something will happen to the roof structure to make it sounder and keep it from caving in under a heavy, wet snow load. So that reinforce doesn't mean remove and replace. I think that's key to Nancy's concerns, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I would say as part of that also, the material that may be attached to the framing.
Right,
As
right.
sensitive
And
as
whether we
possible.
use, yeah, Douglas fir or whether we use glue lambs. I mean, obviously there are
Well-
more that
Well, I
are,
mean, the plaster finishes or anything like that, that it isn't a kind of a gut necessarily. I think this is an area where a little bit more time would be helpful to, so we make sure we're all aligned with regard to Nancy, am I
Yeah.
paraphrasing that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
but I do want to repeat for Nancy's benefit what I said before. We have talked to the fire department. We have talked to the building inspector in the past, and the third floor really is off limits to anybody.
No, I'm not, yeah, I'm not proposing that it's used for public access all the time. I'm viewing it as historic fabric that has value in and of itself and would be more compliant with Secretary of the Interior standards in terms of preserving as much historic fabric as possible.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, okay. Holly, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the Right Tavern? Be ready then to move to the additional letter from CHDC. We'll see if we can put that up right here. And so I'll just flash this up and we'll not read through it. People should have had access to this, but just to remind everybody, this is from Lee Smith. Lee, looks like you're on the line here. And Lee has done a nice job suggesting while nothing is certain, there are impending situations potentially in the near future around existing and new units, and available funds would make it much more likely to seize on those opportunities is what I understand. Questions or comments about this additional, let's say, supplement to the application?
Hi, this is Hester. My only comment is just that it's a lot of money.
Okay, yep, thank you, Hester. Other questions or comments? Yeah, Judy.
Yeah, I guess it came up last week. Is understanding how this money would interact with the, I think already in the fund, the $750,000 for affordable housing that can be spent at the direction of, with the approval of the select board and the town manager, which we discussed last week.
Lee, are you available to clarify that?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, thank you. So I view these as two different sources of funds. So for example, if, well, I'd expect that a typical project, buy down type project, might be in excess of $150,000 per unit. I'm generalizing and speculating because we don't have a specific project in front of us at the moment. But my concern, frankly, is that if that they're just in a given year, there may not be enough money to go around to address each of the potential opportunities that could arise in a year. And also, I'm not presuming in any way that of the free cash funds that CHDC would be the only potential recipient of those funds in town.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Any other questions or comments related to CHDC? John?
Well, I share Hester's concern about the size of the request and see it as something that could be adjusted in our getting to our final package.
Thank you, John. Others, Diane?
Could Lee clarify what he means by the money may not be available for CHDC? What other organizations, for which other organization would those funds be available, Lee?
Well, one example is the newly created Affordable Housing Trust that I think could be one recipient. I presume the Housing Authority would be another.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Any other questions or
All right,
comments?
this is Hester again. quite sure how the Concord Housing Authority could be helpful here. We certainly don't have any money to give.
Not give, receive.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, members of the public? Any questions or comments? Great, thank you. Ready to move on. Paul, how are you doing? Keeping up?
Doing all right, keeping up.
Nice job. Thank you. Thank you. All
I
right.
think Heather made it look a lot easier than it actually is.
Yeah, exactly. No, she's definitely a pro. Yeah. Okay, great. We are going to move to an additional exhibit. This is from Delia with regard to Warner's Pond, and it came via email. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to see that. The committee asked her to do a little research on the potential to partner with NMI and offset some costs. And you can, I think, see here that all indications are that they don't feel that this material is going to be suitable for their application. Questions or comments? Okay, pretty good. Members of the public? Make sure everybody's had a chance to see this, since it was an outstanding question. Okay, good. To my knowledge, that is any new materials received. Those were the 3 documents.
Mr. Kearns?
Kate?
Hi, yes, hi. I'm sorry, I sent a message. I had just gotten the information literally this afternoon at about 5:05. And so I'm thinking that the commission didn't get it, but I wanted to provide, if you would like, an update on some of the work and due diligence that we've done over the last week regarding the White Pond project. But if this isn't a good time, we can come back.
Well, Kate, is this some additional information that addresses questions from the committee?
Yes, I believe it is.
Yeah, if you could, maybe if you could provide us a kind of high-level brief, and
Sure.
then we can figure out, if we need to kind of take a deeper dive into any area. Thank you.
Okay, absolutely. So again, we appreciate I'm Kate Hodges, I'm the Deputy Town Manager, and I appreciate the board's consideration regarding all of the applications. So since we met last week, I've been rather relentless in gathering additional information for the project, which I reiterate is very much in its planning stages and will be evolving over the upcoming weeks and months with the public input and the additional information from both the state and the local regulatory boards. But since last week, I can provide the following information, which I believe I captured in my notes as the questions. So one of the questions was related to parking spaces and the amount that we needed to have in order to be compliant. So I was able to speak with a member of the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board, and they confirmed an earlier interpretation from our consultants and the AAB from years ago when we were looking to acquire the property, which states that we are required to provide the same access route for all persons regardless of their ability. So therefore, despite existing, and if we were to expand parking at the bottom of the state boat launch or the fishing ramp area, ADA access and accessibility would still be necessary from top to bottom. Essentially, the representative from the state stated that the goal of this type of planning is to allow everyone to arrive at the same way. And she also said that they are really focused on having people arrive with dignity, meaning that they don't have to necessarily park in a different spot or call to attention that somehow they have less mobility than others, but they're able to access the property in the same way. And she also called our attention to the fact that not every person who has accessibility or mobility issues or any other either temporary or permanent mobility issue qualifies or goes through the process of having a placard on their vehicle. And so that is sort of the catalyst for why they're trying to say access for, any part of the population should be mirrored as best you can. for anybody with mobility issues.
Great.
The second was a discussion, further discussion regarding the overall plan schematic. And we talked about sort of if there was going to be a cost savings for that. And so further discussion regarding that will really occur at the second forum, which is scheduled for the 16th of December. But what we're trying to gather is essentially that the picnic groves and the pavilion that were once depicted at the top of the plan have since been removed. Unfortunately, while that satisfies one requirement, the savings from that are not great because those consisted really of stone dust and of mulch that was created from on-site limbing and tree debris that we were going to just chip and basically make a small spot there. So the estimated savings from that was really only about $30,000 to $50,000. In talking with more folks, receiving information and going through the process of gathering information from the surveys that we did, it seemed like a greater reforestation effort was needed, or at least desired. And so what we did was we sort of parlayed that $30,000 to $50,000 savings into a reforestation effort. So it was more added to the schedule for plantings and also doing a complete undergrowth. There was a lot of discussion about blueberry bushes and some other things which are really not very healthy there. And so we're talking about doing not only the tall and vertical tree planting, but also some of the lower type of plantings that absorb water and sort of are able to pave the way for stormwater management. So the plan with 100% construction drawings, the town pretty much remains the same at the earmark of about a $300,000 request that we're giving to CPC. However, I kind of want to put an asterisk next to that because as plans progress and more details and estimates are able to be explored and realized, the town wants to be able to remain in contact with the CPC regarding our funding requests and have every intention of lowering those requests should those be realized. And so I just wanted to bring to the committee's attention that the rough estimates, which are done essentially by me using prevailing wage and some figures on similar projects, including the Giroux project across town, is we have about $450,000 for ADA improvements, $300,000 for stormwater management, somewhere between $100,000 and $120,000 for our reforestation efforts, and about $90,000 for site prep, mobilization, and other things that are related to sort of making sure that nothing that we're doing to the site is further degrading the property. So that with a 3% escalator, the overhead head and profit and the contingency of about $100,000 plus what we would have to pay for construction oversight leaves us at a quote of about 1.25 million. And if you look at what I gave earlier, we were closer to sort of a 1.5, 1.6. So there is a savings that is realized, but I'm hesitant right now before we go through the second and third iterations of sort of the master plan and develop 100% construction drawings to commit to that. But I did want to be transparent and let you know that there is a savings, and we fully don't expect to not come back and tell you, but we wanted to make sure that we were being transparent with that.
Well, hey, Kate, thank you for doing all this good work in responding to our questions and doing a lot of work in short order. It sounds like you've submitted this in writing because it's relatively complex. Yeah, and
yes.
So that's good. We'll be able to kind of go through that between now and our next meeting. Looks like a couple of questions. Diane and then Judy.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Kate. Kate, can you do the reforestation move later? Is it important that it be done as you are undertaking this project?
Let me see. We don't have to do the full reforestation during the project by any means. What we had initially planned was somewhere in the neighborhood of about $60,000 that we were going to use for rain gardens and other things that were going to contribute to stormwater management in a more naturalized environment. But there was a lot of community and neighborhood concern about the number of trees that were coming down, which for the record are actually less than a dozen. And so we plan on addressing that at the 16th and letting people know that perhaps what they thought was a large amount of trees. I'm not quite sure everybody, depending on how you view the term large, 12 may seem like it fits or not. And so we were just trying to respond to saying, if you wanted to do a complete reforestation effort, and one of the things we were saying is we require a 3-to-1. So we remove a tree, we replant 3 in its place. We were looking at a 4-to-1 ratio. Should the community not want that? Absolutely. That can be deferred to another year without any issue. Yes. And so that would probably cut the reforestation in half.
Thank you, Diane. Judy. You may need to.
Yeah, I realized I was muted. Sorry about that. Hi, Kate. I actually was on the reforestation, and it was just I'm sure you've perhaps tapped into what the Department of Natural Resources may have learned through the White Pond project a few years ago. As I recall, the soils around the pond can be really challenging to get things to grow in because it's just really soil.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you had a chance to talk with Delia about any learnings that came from that to ensure the approach and the budget is going to be adequate.
Sure. Yep. Yes. Well, we have, and part of what we did for the stormwater plan is that we had to do a stormwater analysis, and we actually had to do some boring holes into 6 or 7 different locations within the hillside. And as you can imagine, it's quite sandy soil. And then there's a mixture of clay and sediment closer to the top of the hill near the farmland there. And so what we're proposing is a native plants of, the types of grass and other kind of deciduous plants that come through that. But yes, we are absolutely working in conjunction with NRC. And just like any other project, we would have to bring our entire planting plan with our notice of intent to NRC and have their input there, similar to what we did with the Giroux property. But like I said, we were sort of building it out to the largest extent possible in response to what the community, at least in the last meeting, had expressed to us. But it can be as much or as little as folks want to see, for sure.
Yep. Thank you, Kate. Thanks.
And
Judy.
I had one other question on the storm water management system. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I would assume that the meetings with the community to get input doesn't include the stormwater management system. Is that estimate and design pretty solid?
Well, actually, the design and estimate, because numbers are numbers, are pretty solid. But what we were able to do is work with some of the folks that were both the designers and contributors to the existing stormwater management system. And through the good work of Alan Cathcart, who is our current DPW director, we were able to dig up some former plans, which were hand-drawn, and some information from there. And so I've asked actually the consultants who are the stormwater experts, of which I am absolutely not, to be able to talk about the pros and cons of the existing system and the difference from the proposed and what, if anything, may be salvaged. And so we really do want to hear, particularly from the folks who were really instrumental in getting the existing system in, because it hadn't been maintained for about 12 years from our best estimation. And so we really are relying on what the folks who installed the system know about it, because we just can't get a camera down in there and understand sort of what's going on. And so we very much are open to having that discussion and hoping that it yields, some additional savings, but we can't be sure.
Okay. Yeah, I guess, certainly, as Delia said last meeting, I mean, the ADA improvements are critical too, but you know, improving that stormwater system is really important for the health of the pond. So,
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you just, you know, not to get into the nitty gritty here, but, you know, the basic system had a 4 leaching galley, and the calculations sheet that we have that we're going to reveal on the 16th indicates that the basic system as it is now is, and that's if it was clear and fully operational, is 461 cubic feet. So what we're trying to do is add an additional 182 cubic feet at 4 different locations. And so the
Okay.
system that we're having is much more robust, so that we've designed a chamber system that provides more than 13,000 cubic feet of storage that's designed to address water quality. And so, as you can imagine, 461 to 13,000 is a significant difference. And so that's what we're kind of talking about. But I want to
Okay.
make sure that the neighborhood and certainly the people who contributed to the former system really understand that it isn't for lack of their efforts, but really because, you know, technology has changed so much.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sure.
thank you, Judy. Other members of the committee? Seeing none. Kate, so you and the team have done a great deal of work on this. It seems like it continues to come into focus, and that you may learn more and bring it even more into focus on December 16th, that community meeting?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, okay, good. And as we discussed our own process, it sounds like there could be some additional refinements that come out of that session.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure when you have to sort of make your final recommendation, but we are happy to wait and come back to you as many times up until your drop dead date to do that, if that's what the committee feels more comfortable when doing.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any members of the public wish to make a comment, ask a question about this? So we'll look forward to the written document. So,
great. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. I'll say we're just finishing up our agenda topic number 1, current applications and new materials, to make sure we've got all the input we can.
So, hi, it's Hester. I have one quick thing to add, but I'm not sure this is where it should go.
Oh, this is
We had Concord Housing Authority board meeting earlier this week, and I have a recommendation from them about the Timothy Wheeler project. Is this where it should go, or should I save it till later?
Yeah, is it a letter of recommendation to be submitted?
It's not a letter because we've missed the letter date, so it's hoping that what I could say would count as sort of a letter.
You want to make a brief statement?
Yeah, the brief statement is that at our meeting on the 3rd of December, there was unanimous support from the board for fully funding the project at the Timothy Wheeler House.
Thank you, Hester. Any questions for Hester? Great. Okay, I think unless there are other new inputs, I think that will conclude item number 1 on our agenda. Okay, everybody ready to move on? Great, nice work. Okay, number 2 is the select board and town manager priority list, and this came up last meeting, and it's nice. We've got a couple of it looks like a couple of select board members with us. Matt, thank you. Last time you were giving us an update on the timing of the list, and I was going to put this up here and see. Okay, now can everyone see this list on the screen? Looks okay, and hopefully everybody's seen this. So this is, as I've received it anyway, the list from town manager and select board. I'll do my best to introduce this, and then obviously we've got some experts that can provide even more clarity. The town manager has ranked town projects 1 through 9, and has also included 2 in the category of must do. Okay, and you can see those here. So basically 1 through 9 with 2 must do's. The select board has created a tiered system, 3 tiers, with some projects receiving a tier 1 designation, and some receiving a tier 2 designation, and some a tier 3 designation. Okay, Matt, how'd I do? Okay, with that general description?
Yeah.
Okay, that's how it was explained to me. So just want to make sure I'm getting the gist of it. Now the yellow highlight is mine, that's my own. And so, yeah, excuse me for trying to sort that out in my own mind. What I did with this document is that I thought about the town managers 1 through 9 grouping. And in my own mind, I kind of made 1, 2, 3 as kind of a tier 1, 4, 5, 6 is kind of a tier 2, and 7, 8, 9 is kind of a tier 3, roughly. And I was just trying to, in my own mind, see where there might be some alignment, convergence, commonality in the thinking and the rankings and recommendations there. And so that was just one way to think about this. Obviously, everyone's had time to take a look at this or maybe glance at it, and you can kind of see here, if I were to scroll through it, that the town manager and select board seem very aligned on item A and B, of course. Now Heather has a ABDC. I think she has a reason for that. I didn't feel that I was in a position to be able to course correct her lettering, so I've left that the way it is on both this document and our own document. But the town manager looked like was kind of quiet on the issue of the affordable housing buy down, and you can see the select board has ranked that 3.
Yeah, well, I might explain on that one that there was some question over whether that was actually a town initiative, since the CHDC is an independent, of course, under the town corporation. So in fact, the select board ranking only represents a subset of select board members. I think that there was a little bit of confusion over whether or not we should rank that. So
okay, thank you.
Did not rank it, in a subset of the select board members did.
Okay, thanks, Matt, for that clarification. So there's a little bit of a quasi situation there. If I were to kind of, let's see, if we're scrolling down, obviously on the staff and technical support, excuse me, it's a must do and a number 1 by the select board. The Warner's Pond dredging is in the top 3 of the town managers list, and also a number 1 for the select board. So that provided at least some guidance for me as to how I was thinking about these things. The flagpole, for example, was in tier 3 for select board and number 8 of 9 for the town manager. So maybe a little lower on the list. The Wheeler Harrington, for me, felt similar, 3 for select board and 7 out of 9 there. But White Pond, pretty high on the town manager's list, and relatively high in tier 2 for the select board, and maybe similar for Bruce Freeman. But that's the way I read the document. Others, reflections, thoughts about this, questions about the ranking? I'll do my best to have us see the whole thing without making anybody dizzy. Any committee members have any reflections on this? Looks like no. Good. Diane?
I wonder if we could hear some discussion about the rifle range. It seems to be lower than perhaps our original discussions to some degree seem to suggest. And I wonder what the thinking was behind that. It's a
Matt,
3.
any
number 9, so.
reflections on that from the select board point of view?
Well, I think I'll relay what the town manager stated, and I think that then the select board also reflected, which is, that we have these major projects, the Warner Pond and White Pond, that have been, funded over a period of time, and that can be brought, to a conclusion, I think, with this round of funding, and so that there was sense that they should take priority. I don't think that there was a sense that the Old Rifle Range project wasn't deserving. It was really just a matter of the relative status of that project, in its life cycle, and the opportunity to be able to defer it versus some of these others that are kind of already in mid-flight.
Thank you for that very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Diane. Any other questions or comments? Anything from the public at large? Okay, good to have this. Now, what I did is, you'll see, we continue to try to optimize our information sharing. This is the old structured list that we had when we originally received our applications. Of course, we have in our own working matrix, we have organized this by category. And so I've transposed these recommended rankings to our list, and the order is a little different, but all the numbers match. So when we get to that point, you'll see that. But yeah, we continue to evolve our list. So you have to pay kind of close attention there. There are not a lot of changes, but there's a little bit of reordering of things. Okay, but I think this was really helpful just to kind of understand where some of those other perspectives. Okay, so if I go back to our agenda, I think that brings us to number 2. Number 3, we have no update yet from town council. We're trying to get we've asked for our typical review of the applications. We don't have that input yet. And I don't have a timeline when we will get the input. I've asked a couple of people to please reach out, and we'll see here. I'll as soon as tomorrow, I may have to reach out to town council myself and try to figure out exactly where we are there. So there's another set of inputs. I don't know if we have any that are as challenging as our applications from last year. I don't think so, but you never know. It's good to have those eyes on it. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Everybody all set? I'm going to now see if I can go to our potential recommendations. And if you can hang with me for just a second. Okay, we back. And good. So far, so good. Nobody panic. Okay, I am going to share my screen once again. Okay. Everybody see our working matrix? Yes, good. Awesome. Okay, this is a draft that should look pretty familiar. Something like what we left off with last week. I'd like to run through it again and see where we are. What I added to our matrix here is columns J and K that represent the rankings from town manager and select board that we just reviewed. And you'll see if we scroll to the bottom of this document, last time we tallied it all up, we were around 1.4. We didn't complete our work yet. Our total target is very close to approximately, or maybe exactly 1.769. And this would say that math here, that we still have 368,000 to distribute to get to that target. Okay. Everybody kind of with me on that? Yeah, Diane, thumbs up. Judy's yes, give me the yes. That's great. Paul is staying with us in the notes. Thank you. Probably needs to change pens. So let's talk about how we go through it. Just to refresh everybody's memory, would it be helpful to take it from the top? And some of these we're going to move right through. Others we're going to have to get into more depth on. Or I'm open to any recommendations we have for how to go through this effectively. Take it from the top, okay? Everybody okay with that? Okay, so if we go to the housing production plan at $30,000, we have last round, as I recall, we have recommended fully funding that, and we are aligned with town manager and select board in that regard. I think we got a little bit of additional information also from town staff on previous plan costs, and this one being similar to some kind of benchmark towns, as I recall, Acton in particular. Okay. Any comments or questions about item A? Okay, let's go to B, right? And this is our Regional Housing Services Program, 25,000, fully fund, must do, and number 1. Comments or questions about this from the committee, from the public? Nice job, wonderful. Okay, we are now ready to go to item D, which is our affordable housing buy down, $500,000. This is one, I think Matt just gave us a little bit of reflection, on this, that it has I don't have the legal definition, but maybe a quasi relationship there. And so that maybe led to some discussion about it. We've also heard a little bit tonight from a couple members of the committee with regard to that the overall request is large, and we need to kind of think about that. We put a placeholder number in here last time. Additional reflections?
The only point that I have is that we do need to allocate at least $117,000 to affordable housing, either through this project or we put it into a fund that we would hold over, because that would be 10% of the total.
Yes, excellent. And if we are committed to A and B, we are maybe $55,000 toward that goal.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Others? John, you're good? Peter, I can't see you. Every once in a while I want to check in, make sure you're okay. You're with us?
No, I'm fine. I agree with Judy's point that we want to keep an eye. We need to have a total of, what is it, 176,000.
Yes, sir.
For this space. So I think that's how we came up with the 125 as a minimum.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so moving forward, we go to item C, the Emerson Field Flagpole. We had a good discussion about this last week, and that included should they be asking for a little bit more? It seemed kind of modest, but there was a recommendation to fully fund, although this has not been so high on the town manager nor the select board's agendas.
So
relative to other
Hester,
things.
I'm surprised about that. Do we know why it was so low on their list?
We can maybe ask Matt if he has a reflection.
Actually, I have to say I don't recall, and maybe Diane does because she may have reviewed the tape more recently than I have, but I don't recall what the reasoning was for that relative to the other projects.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Diane?
Again, it may come back to urgency, but I can't recall.
Sure, thank you.
I didn't think there was anything negative. It just did not, much as Matt had suggested earlier, just didn't percolate up as an burning issue for the town. And if you remember, I believe Melissa Sawfield presented this so beautifully, but I think the town itself said, well, actually, she's kind of presenting it for the town and kind of, it's not sure it's entirely a town project. So, I mean, there was a backing and forthing on that too, but there's certainly, I don't recall anything that would cause us to be concerned, Hester. I don't think there was anybody who thought we shouldn't proceed on this. It just was not going to be high on their list.
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. If there was some answer that, well, given the scale of the number here, we could just fund this out of some other capital project fund and not CPC, and that there was other funding available to take care of this. But it doesn't sound like that came up in discussions.
Excuse me? Sorry, it's Kate Hodges.
Hi,
It
Kate.
actually, it did come up internally because we are actually going through a massive renovation of the Emerson Park envelope. And we thought perhaps that depending on what we were able to bid out this winter, that there may be some monies left over that we could contribute to this. To be perfectly honest, it wasn't necessarily on the radar, but the amount is so low that we thought if it was going to take money away from some of the other things that we couldn't identify another funding mechanism, we would probably be able to absorb this within the Emerson project. That was just a very off the cuff conversation and nothing official, but I'm pretty sure that might have been what contributed to it.
Well, Kate, thank you for that. That's really excellent. And I think that maybe that warrants a little bit of additional coordination. I mean, this is something that we've been very positive about. We want to make sure it gets done.
We absolutely
But-
agree with you. And
Yeah.
we just had a meeting today with the superintendent of Park and Tree and myself and the rec director and our facilities director. And we're talking about sort of going through some of the playground safety surfacing. And this came up really in the periphery, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be that expensive. And a few years ago, we did the Monument Square. And it wasn't quite as expensive as the 14,000. And so we thought we might be able to bid it out as part of this and get a better price. So,
Get some economy of scale as part of a bigger project.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, that's excellent.
But it is absolutely worthwhile and the town is committed to doing it.
Well, I just think that that is the process we go through where we have discussions about these applications over and over and over again, because then opportunities do open up for, unexpected outcomes or coordination. Judy?
Yeah, quick question for Kate. Kate, any estimate on when you might be able to have that sorted out through the bidding project for the Emerson Field?
Well, I just wrote myself a note to make sure that I give a call tomorrow and see if we wanted to have a price through facilities as a separate contract. The work that we're doing in Emerson is not necessarily, I mean, it's immediately adjacent because we're talking about the underground systems for both baseball and the irrigation. But so I'm probably about a week, if you could give me about a week, but I'm happy to write to Mr. Kearns and he can send it forward. But certainly, I think it's a very worthwhile project, and frankly, I'm sorry that we didn't think of it ourselves. We've been over there more times than you care to imagine, and we just didn't think of it. So I appreciate the applicant for bringing it to our attention.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Any other comments or questions about the Emerson Field flagpole? Good. Very good discussion. Let's move to item E. Right. This is the Concord Home for the Aged. And last time we were together, we had a discussion about fully funding as a non-town property, no ranking from town manager or select board. Any questions, comments, reflections here?
Esther, I would still strongly vote for fully funding it.
Thank
And
you.
especially with the endorsement that came, Hester, through the CHA.
I would add all the endorsements were very, very positive for this.
Yeah, I do agree. Great, thank you. Are there any other comments on this from the public? Thank you. Let's move to item F. This is the Masonic Corporation roof replacement. And we had a fully fund here, non-town project, so no ranking from town manager or select board. Discussion? How are we feeling about this? We had a good discussion about this last time.
Oh, let's go. How'd you hit that?
Good. Okay, good. Seeing none, I'm gonna move on to the
Tom,
Yeah, Peter.
one question I would ask is, or point I'd make, is that it looks like the proposal for the wood shingle roof would represent an increase of a little over $12,000. So I don't know if anybody else saw that, but this would be, as I recall, an additional cost that the Masonic Corporation would be absorbing. I just want to make sure that that would be okay if that was the direction they chose to go.
Yeah, and Peter, as I think that question came up to Alec last week, and I believe he said we'll have to work hard to find those funds, is what I recall the answer. Would other people agree with that?
I think that's
what I
right.
heard.
Yeah.
And I
That's-
thought it was more like $7,000.
That's
And
what I
they
thought.
said
I
they'd
went and did, I
fundraise
did
for
the
it.
math.
Oh, you
Yeah.
did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always a problem.
That's right. It could be 7 or 12. What I think one of the items was that they needed to maybe clean up that supplement that they sent us that seemed like it was based on a different project. It had wood clapboard siding on it and other things in its description that I just asked that they maybe clean up the presentation of that so it was more clear. So that may be a follow-up item for us.
You know, Tom, I did look at that again, and I'm pretty sure it's the right building, but they just made a mistake with the
Correct.
reference to clapboards, but I'm not positive, so.
Well, I agree. I just thought there was an opportunity for them to maybe
Yes.
review it,
Yeah.
clean it up, and
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll kind of double check that.
Yeah, I thought we agreed that the number was acceptable to them no matter where they find their roof.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, that's item F. We're going to move to G, Right Tavern. And we already had a discussion about the letter. It looks like John is going to mute himself about the supplemental letter. That was great. And Holly did a little follow-up with us on that. The letter was from Tom Wilson and Rosalind Romberg. And yeah, Diane.
Could you go down to the bottom again of the thing where we have how much to play with? 3. So if we were to plug in this spot the $260,000 that they are presently requesting, at least it would give us a sense for where we'd be able to fully fund that. Where would we be? Because I think that's the only one left open without funding right now, or without a kind of guesstimate.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I believe you're right.
I think so.
Okay.
The other issue is just a parenthetical statement that it's mostly or much of it's going to be time and materials. So that always leaves a lot of flexibility in what your actual cost often leaves an unknown. So there might be a cushion.
Okay, very good. Very good. Other comments, questions on Right Tavern? Nancy.
I'm sorry to keep having comments and questions, but I'm still interested in the role that the historical architect and the conservator have taken in developing this pared down project proposal and how they will be involved in the future. And curious about the historic preservation background of a structural engineer. So those are a couple questions. Maybe those go back to First Parish. And I'll just keep saying it's a National Historic Landmark, and we should be very careful.
I think that Holly, I hope, I believe Holly heard that question today when she came, and so I trust we'll receive some sort of information about all of this. I don't know that we said, and Nancy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know that we said that we needed to have some information about the background of the person advising them, which I believe is what isn't that what you just said?
Yeah, that is another question, because sometimes structural engineers and historical architects have different kinds of opinions about different approaches, and structural engineers who may have worked on historic preservation projects, sometimes they have a good melding of the mind there that might not be the more conventional way to approach another kind of building.
Terrific. So I mean, I think we emphasize that aspect of things so that when we're making the request, I think we need to make that part of what we ask
And
about.
I'm just not sure how all these perspectives come together. You know, Holly said it's tough because you do have to go with people who know a lot about historic structures. You have to see the building, have dialogue. So I don't, that argues for more time, I think.
Yeah, Judy.
Yeah, I would, I mean, I think we need to refine, or hopefully you'll look at more information to refine the number. But in general, I'm supportive of providing funding so that the building can be stabilized, given that it's of such historical importance.
Judy, I agree with you. I would also, the way I would characterize this, hopefully not unfairly, but they put together an application. It was, let's say, relatively comprehensive in its nature and $500,000 in the request. In short order, and in just a few days, they have nearly cut that in half and kind of trimmed the proposal to things that are maybe more stabilization focused. I think, you know, given the importance of this project and getting it right and not making a wrong first step, some additional time would be really beneficial to make sure we can have a little bit more dialogue and they have the time to reflect on this letter with their team and make sure they, you know, they really are committed to it and they've been able to address our questions. Would people agree with me? I think they're working in a good direction, but
Yes.
you know, we met last Tuesday, here they are, you know, 7 days or less later with a, you know, pretty significant modification. I think they need to make sure they're really behind it here.
Yeah, I agree.
Are there any other comments or questions about this? The group is, I just want to double check, everybody okay right now? I think, was it Diane, your proposal to plug in the 260?
It
Everybody
was.
okay? Everybody
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep,
thank you. Everybody
absolutely.
okay? Good, thank you. Okay, good. Let's move forward then to item M, which is Chamberlain Park, fully fund. This was kind of middle of the pack for both the town manager and the select board.
Yeah.
Feeling good? Questions, comments, thumbs up? Yes. Any questions or comments from the committee? No. Anything from the public on Chamberlain Park? Okay, we'll move forward. Thank you. Item N, which is Emerson Conservation Restriction. Quite a bit of dialogue about this. Again, this is kind of in the middle of both groups. Town manager is a 6 out of 9 and select board 2. We had a good discussion with Delia, I think last week, about assessments and appraisals.
Okay.
Fully fund. How's everybody feeling about this?
You see my card over there, sir.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like the committee is like in support of the direction we're going in, and John gives his thumbs up. Any members of the community, of the public, any comment? Seeing none, hearing none, we're going to move forward, and we go to item H, which is Wheeler Harrington House and Land. This is for the facilitation to determine the best future framework for this property. It is somewhat lower on the town manager's list, 7 out of 9, and lower on the as a tier 3 for the select board. Fully fund facilitation. How's Judy?
Yeah, I agree fully funding it. I just wanted to potentially make sure this gets in the minutes before I forget. It seems to me for this project, we should put a condition on it that before they receive if the funding is approved by town meeting, that they return the monies on this property that were not spent, that they received from the CPC.
Yeah, Judy, thank you. Was there like a $40,000 number?
Yeah, it was a sizable amount of money, and it just seems to me before they start anything else, they need to return that money.
It was about 40,000. I went back and looked, Tom.
Yeah, oh, good. Thanks, Judy. Thank you, Diane. Okay, I think that's exactly right. That makes this even a better investment. Okay, any other comments on Wheeler Harrington? Community, public? No? Great. All right, I'm going to move to the White Pond Beach improvements. And this was a fully funded, high on the town manager's list of priorities as number 2 in the middle, tier 2 for the select board, $300,000. Good sized ticket item. Kate has done a nice job giving us the kind of verbal refinement, and she's gonna follow up with the written document there. Questions, comments? How are we feeling about the White Pond initiative, and maybe also a reflection on the 16th and what that could mean to our deliberations?
Looks good.
Good. Everybody feeling good here?
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess Tom, the one thing that, and I know Kate's really working hard to refine the estimates. I just recall from the White Pond project that the NIC did a few years ago, that I think that's a somewhat challenging environment, and maybe it was only specific to that side of the pond, that the cost came back greater when we actually tried to do the project than we thought, and we had to get more money to execute the project. So while I certainly applaud to make sure that it's a very well-defined project and we don't overspend, I'm a little concerned about trying to cut too much out and then we turn around and find out when it's actually being done because it's challenges it can't get completed.
Yeah, okay, Judy, thank you. Diane.
While we're discussing this, I know that we had a late town meeting and therefore many projects are just really beginning to get underway. When are we going to hear or receive a report on the Giroux Park efforts that have been undertaken, which we funded? And this is really a protocol, kind of a timeline question, rather than in any way a negative comment at all about the White Pond. Do we know?
I don't have any
Would you like
information.
me to answer that,
Giroux.
Mr. Kearns?
Yeah, Kate, do you have any?
Would you like me to answer
Yes.
that?
Yes, please.
Sure. We just received the permit last week for the septic that we were proposing that was going to be required by the Board of Health for the gray water leaching field. And so we just had the parking study approved, and the NRC approved us earlier in the fall. And so we are ready. We have split one part out to remove the invasive honeysuckle species from the side of the pond that's sort of along that steep bank. We're actually separating that out because we want to make sure that we have an environmental specialist that's there on scene, and we can't be entirely sure that a contractor would be able to oversee it in the manner that we want to. So we're working with Delia for that, and she has graciously said that she will meet them there, a few times a day along with myself. I'm not sure if the committee knows, but I'm also an arborist, and so I have that ability to be able to see that. So between she and I, we're going to be doing that, and so we're looking to put that out actually during the winter time, which seems sort of counterintuitive, except for that when everything's dead, it's the perfect time to pull the invasive species. And so we'll be hopefully bidding the first part of the Giroux project first of the year, and we're looking to put a shovel in the ground as soon as the ground thaws. So I am just over the moon about this because I think probably, as most of the committee knows, I was able to really have the ability to see this from start to finish. So it really is very, very exciting, and I appreciate all of CPC's support in this. It's really going to be great.
Okay, Kate, that's a good update on Giroux Park. Thank you. Okay, Diane, make you feel better about?
No, I wasn't feeling badly. I was just wondering when that just reminded me there were just some projects that because of the lateness of the town meeting.
Yeah.
We like to pile our projects one on top of the other and then do them all on different schedules because it makes the stress level maintained at the highest level possible.
Well, I think that
without any stress, I think that's a great idea.
Well, I think Kate, for the earlier discussion, some additional time might benefit you in as this comes into more focus.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, okay, that's excellent. Everybody okay with the full fund number in there? Looks like we're all yes.
Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
thank you, Peter. Any other comments from the public? We're good. Thank you. We're going to item J, Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, fully fund. This was relatively in the middle of the pack for town manager, 4 out of 9, and tier 2 for select board. How's everybody feeling
Good.
about this? I think it's well defined. Yep, thank you. We're going to move to item K, the pond dredging. This is a fully fund, high on the town manager's agenda, as well as the select board and number 1, tier 1. And this is trying to kind of complete the funding for this big initiative. We also had the email reply from NMI from Delia this evening. Everybody feeling okay about this?
Yes.
Nice
Yep.
job.
Yes.
Yep. Nancy?
Oh, sorry. What happened to the parking lot improvements that were used to be included as part of the dredging, as I recall?
That was incorrectly cited last week. That had been a previous CPC grant that we provided them a year or two ago.
Oh, so the parking lot idea is gone.
It
No,
has already,
it's
it's already
not
been
gone.
funded.
That was funded in fiscal year 19 in a,
Oh, it's
Right.
already
in a
funded.
part between
Yeah.
CPC and the town's capital budget,
Right.
as well as the pointing of the driveway and some of the erosion control on the way down to the boat launch off Commonwealth Ave.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Good clarification. We are moving to item L, the old rifle range, survey and permitting, fully fund, low for the town manager, maybe relative to other priorities here, and relatively low in tier 3 for the select board. How are we feeling about that? We've got a fully fund number in here.
Well, given what Matt indicated, why it was so low, the other projects that town manager and select board want to make sure we're funded, it's, we're meeting that. So I think the fully funding makes sense. Plus, I'm tired of falling on my butt when I walk along there in the wintertime.
Yeah, Nancy?
I would agree. I think this is a first step to correcting some really, really obvious safety risks there. And to not fund it, I think would be discomforting for me anyway.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the committee? Comments from the public? Okay, that moves us to the last item, and that is item O, staff and technical support, 40,000, the same request and approval as last year. We have town manager as a must-do and the select board as a tier 1. Any comments? No, we know that this is managed pretty closely by the whole town staff. Fantastic. We've gone through a complete pass, and I think we have a formula that gets us pretty darn close. Diane.
Tom, I know we have to put some money aside. But my question is, do we want to take some of this money and put it back in the affordable housing buy down pocket, which we diminished fairly dramatically? And I wonder how the committee feels about that. We have the money. It's the one that we short shrifted it pretty dramatically. I don't mean by short shrift. I should say that's not probably the right language, but we diminished its costs. It's our contribution.
100,000 before.
Yeah, so it looks like we on the order of $100,000, and if we go through our categories, our various applications, we have fully funded most. That would not include the Right Tavern, but we're maybe following their supplement to their application in that regard. And the other one is the affordable housing buy down.
Right. So if we added 100,000 there, that would get us to 225,000, which is pretty close to half of their request. And I know it would probably be a wise thing to do. So that's just my sense of it.
So I've plugged in Diane's proposal. Discussion. Anybody have any thoughts about that?
That's actually about 108,000. So
Yeah, so this could go to, what is that, 233 roughly? Yeah. Judy?
Yeah,
Just-
I agree in principle with that. I guess I'd like to make sure we get a good project number from the Tavern group before we finalize that.
Yeah.
I agree.
I would also, I just want to reinforce, Judy, what you're saying. I don't think we want to be in a finalizing position tonight.
Yeah.
But I think we do need to have, I think we need to have a discussion about our schedule and this, and our approach here. But this is certainly a kind of first final draft or something like that to just gauge the, our group and where we are. Nancy and, or let's see, we'll go Diane, John, and then Nancy.
Okay. Oh, I was going to say, I would just keep that at 225 rather than the 233. Keep that $8,000 buffer for a while and let us see what happens. Not that $8,000, it seems a lot to me, but it doesn't with these projects. So maybe that just gives us a little give room and gives us a chance to continue to feel that we're moving toward a goal rather than having completed a goal.
Yeah, thank you, Diane. See, John?
Yeah, I agree with Diane. I think it's a mistake to run tonight right up to our final number.
Yeah.
So I would keep that number at even at 200. I mean, I think you need a cushion still.
Yeah. Okay. How's everybody?
Is it a trio? Is it a trio stuff?
Okay. Any thoughts about John's proposal here? Keep that around 200, which gives us 30,000 or so in the kind of.
Oh, great.
Yeah, Nancy, did you have your hand up?
Well, I think different people. We've definitely different people.
You were getting a little feedback from somebody. Maybe there's a mute opportunity. Okay, Nancy?
I just had a thought that in terms of anticipating future needs, I would think that we should anticipate in a vague sort of way a request from Tavern for true restoration of some of the rooms.
Yeah,
just to keep in mind.
which could bump this number up.
No, because I think this is correct to keep it very tightly focused on things that minimize
I see what you're saying. On
damage,
stabilization.
but address the urgent structural needs.
I see.
But in the
future, yes.
I think, well, I hope we see restoration requests.
Great.
Okay.
So good shape here. So maybe this would bring us to a discussion about our schedule. It feels like that would be a normal next step. Okay, if I close this screen? Everybody okay with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Stop sharing here, see how I do. Okay, we should be back together. Yeah, I'm no expert at this business, I'll tell you that. Let's see, we're going to go here. I am going to pull up another exhibit. Let's see what happens. Okay. Can you see my screen? And this would be our 2021 calendar. Everybody see that? So on the books, we have a meeting scheduled for next week, December 15th. Okay.
Do we need that meeting, Tom?
Yeah, I want to have a discussion about that. I wondered if, given the very, very good work of the committee and our larger community. Everybody's done such an excellent job. That would we want to consider our next meeting January 19th? That would give our applicants some additional time to answer some questions, make some refinements, and we could come back to a draft, whatever, a straw poll vote at that time if we were ready. And if we found on January 19th that we were not ready, we could move to February to complete our work, and I think still be okay with regard to our submission deadlines for the warrant article into town meeting is my understanding. So let's have maybe a discussion about that. Thoughts?
Does
Yeah.
it make any sense to leave December 15th tentative in case Right Tavern folks want to come back and discuss what they're doing and where their thinking is leading them? That's the only one that seems really outstanding. White Pond has some things coming too that seem to want to
Yeah,
keep going on and on, but
White
that's
Pond
early
has
for them.
their meeting is on the 16th. The
Yeah,
next,
it's early for them.
so I'm kind of wondering, do we have a meeting on the books and that we've got to put out that agenda tomorrow for next week, get a lot of energy heading toward that, and potentially some folks to scramble rather than give them a month. But I'm open to whatever
Yeah.
the committee feels is best. Yeah, Diane.
January 19th is just very late in January.
Yeah.
Could we have a somewhat earlier date in January?
Yeah.
19th on the books, which would give us a chance to more systematically review the Right Tavern and any other emendations that come our way. And then having done that good work, produce what we think is a pretty final thing, meet on the 16th, the 19th, then to say, yep, that is definitely a go.
You mean
Any response to Diane's proposal about this? I guess, Diane, if I may, so I'm then suggesting, you're suggesting maybe January 12th.
I don't have my calendar here,
Yeah.
Tom.
The Tuesdays are 5, 12, 19. The
Okay.
5th being the first full week of January.
Yeah.
I don't know, we would have to check that there aren't other conflicts. I know that town staff weaves these meetings together in various ways, but I think that it's possible to come back together on the 12th and
Would we be bumping into a planning board meeting again?
yeah, I just don't have that information. But how do others feel about that?
I will see if I can figure it out. Just a minute.
Yeah, but
I think it would be advisable to have it somewhat earlier in January.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how it happens, but hopefully some kind of collaboration takes place between now and then.
So let's say there's an emerging proposal here to not have a meeting next week and have our next regular meeting on January 12th. How's the committee feeling about that?
I would say that's a fair summary of where we're at. I think that sounds like a good idea.
That seem reasonable, Paul?
And the 5th is too soon.
I only worry that it's the first.
It's first week.
I mean, hey,
okay.
Given what's going on in the world, we're kind of sitting on Zoom calls anyway. But
yeah.
Tom, on the town calendar as of right now, on the 14th, there's the Hugh Cargill Trust Committee. There's the Capital Planning Task Force.
12th.
The 12th.
12th.
I've got January here, and it's really weird. It's not showing the 12th as the date. It's showing the 14th.
2021 Tuesdays.
Yeah. What has happened? They don't have a 2021 up or something. There it is. Well, I've got it. Wait just a minute. Here we go. Now on the 12th, there's nothing.
Perfect. How's everybody feel about that proposal? We'll do some research right away and see if we can slot ourselves into the evening of January 12th.
Yeah, just confirm that there's no planning board meeting. Sometimes the town calendar is not necessarily up to date.
I was going to say, I don't believe that any of the planning board meetings are posted for January yet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Oh, okay.
So then what? The 5th is,
I think normally it's the second Tuesday of the month, actually.
Right.
So
So that would be the 12th.
Mm-hmm.
you just go to the 19th.
Then
Yeah.
and that may be why Heather was trying to
that's too
target
late.
the 19th.
Yes.
Well, what about the 5th then?
Yeah. I like that better. Or the 5th.
The thing I don't like about the 5th as much is if we're trying to provide our applicants time to get their work done, we are giving them, the few days before the holiday break, and New Year's Day is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
1st, and we're giving them basically Monday. I mean, so in terms of a time extension to get some work done, I wonder. about that.
Today is only December 8th. It's a month from now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty good time span from my perspective, but
Let's go. Okay. Folks in favor of Tuesday, January 5th?
It's not a good night for me, but I'll, if that's what everybody else votes for, then I'll. And if you're going to vote, I may be disqualified anyway.
just
On
because
the
I may not be able to do that one anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Okay.
Well, was that,
Do we want to vote this?
did you get a sense?
I saw 3 hands up, I think. John was not sure, and Peter, I don't know. So maybe we could do, let's do at least an informal poll. Can I do an informal poll?
Sure.
This is all in favor of January 5th. Tom, yes. Peter? Peter, you with us?
Sure. That works.
Okay, thank you, Judy.
I'm available.
Paul?
It's fine.
Nancy?
Yes.
Hester?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
John?
I'll just abstain.
Abstain. So let's have our next meeting. We're going to target January 5th unless there's some unforeseen conflict that we don't understand right now.
Mhm.
Okay.
Good.
Thank
So
you, Tom, for that.
yeah, I'll
That was
communicate
nice.
that. Yeah. So I'll communicate that back to Heather, Carvey, and then get that communicated out to the community and the applicants so they know kind of what they're dealing with for time. All right, excellent. That was another point of business. I think that brings us to meeting minutes. Now, let's
Oh,
let's see.
lots of reading.
Yeah.
Lots of reading.
How did everybody do with meeting minutes? And let's see, we have the dates of our minutes someplace here. Any edits on meeting minutes?
I had one minor edit on the December 1st meeting minutes on page 7. I'm having to pull them up right now on my phone. Just a moment. Oh, here, let me look it up on my computer. It's just a minor edit, but it changes the meaning a little bit. Here we go. Sorry about this.
No, thank you.
It's on page 7, the 3rd paragraph down, on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7th line. It says Ms. Zombrecker agreed with Mr. Flynn and stated that the town character is more, and it should be more than about how the town looks. So would insert than after more.
Thank you, Judy. Other edits for minutes?
I
Just
just
One second.
I had one for December 1st.
Peter?
Others present. If I'm not mistaken, John Stragus' full name was not there. I'm just, yeah, it just says Stragus under others present, so that would be John's, Jon.
Thank you, Peter. Other edits? Let's see, Nancy, and then go to Matt.
I have a small one on page 7 also, where it starts, Mr. Craftley refuses himself, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 lines from the bottom. I think I stated that the inspection report was based on the assumption that the current use of the building would remain. Because that's what the report, the inspector's report, actually, I think it was inspectors or the structural report said.
Paul, did you catch that?
I can.
Could you repeat that? I caught most of it. I just want to hear it again, though.
Yeah, it said, Ms. Nelson stated that the inspection report, and then I think it would be more accurate to say based on the, was based on the assumption that the current use of the building would continue. I can send that to you if you want.
Okay, I got it, but yeah, please do.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Matt, did you have a comment on minutes?
Yeah, just back to page 7 where I'm quoted. And on page, so it's the 3rd paragraph, and I just would like to add to the end of that paragraph, instead of sustainable period, to just say, have a comma there, and then to add, considering that the proposal is to fund basic maintenance, he hadn't questioned whether it was an appropriate use.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'm seeing that.
So right at the moment, it just says, Mr. Johnson stated he questioned if the organization's business model is sustainable, period. All right, and so I'm saying instead it should say, he stated that he questioned if the organization's business model is sustainable, comma, considering that the proposal is to fund basic maintenance, period.
Okay, just the comma.
Yeah, and then he hadn't questioned whether it was an appropriate use. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Other questions on minutes? Seeing none. Great job. Motion to approve the minutes. May I ask for one?
I move we approve the minutes as corrected.
Second?
We have a second. Let's have a vote. Tom, yes. Peter?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Esther?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Don? John?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. All right. I think we have taken care of all of our.
Tom, we have another set of minutes, I think, from November 17th that we have not yet approved.
November 17th.
Right.
Thank you, Judy. Do you have edits?
No, I don't.
Any edits on November 17th? Seeing none, motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank
second.
you. Thank you so much for the second. Tom, yes. Peter?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Hester?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Well, hey, thanks. I'm moving rapidly. Any other business for this evening?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, members of the public. Awesome job. We are bringing this into focus. You guys are amazing. May I have or entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Tom, yes. Peter?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Nancy?
Aye.
Hester?
Yes.
Diane,
I want to thank Paul, first of all, for taking the minutes and then say yes.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Paul.
thank you. And John,
Well, wait till
Yes.
you see them first before you thank me.
John,
It'll be
you're-
perfect.
John, I didn't catch that. You're a yes?
Yes. Yes.
We are
Thank you.
adjourned. Yeah, Paul, you're a hero. Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Thanks,
hey,
everybody.
yeah, thanks so much, everybody.
Have a
Really,
great holiday. Everybody
Great
have a
meeting.
great holiday.
Yeah, happy
Oh,
holiday.
Absolutely.
You too. Thank
And,
you.
Get us,
Bye.
get us Heather's address.
I'm on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night,
Take
everybody.
care.
Good night.